Hello everybody, and welcome to my guide to how the guild I'm in defeats Alsbeth the Discordant in the River of Souls raid instance. Alsbeth is the fourth and final boss of the instance. She is a very long fight that requires people to be paying attention throughout. We use 3 tanks here, 1 main tank for Alsbeth and 2 for the adds. We assign a dedicated healer to the main tank. We also assign a healer to keep the health of both the adds tanks topped off, as they don't take much damage. We use 3 or 4 raid healers here, as the raid damage can be quite heavy at points. We have the tank pick up the boss and immediately face her away from the raid. She has a large cleave, so melee should make sure they stand directly behind the boss. After a few seconds she will cast Punish Soul. There will be a screen emote of "Someone's soul is racked with energy." That person must immediately start running and not stop moving until the debuff wears off. If they don't move, or they stop moving while they have the debuff, they will do large amounts of pulsing damage to everyone in the raid. People need to be alert for this debuff throughout the fight, as Alsbeth will cast it both in her air and ground phases. Care should also be taken when running to make sure you do not get hit by Alsbeth's cleave, as it hits quite a large area in front of her. Alsbeth will place a stacking debuff on the tank. If this reaches 10 stacks, then the tank will explode. To prevent this, which I'm sure our tank appreciates, we have one of the adds tanks taunt the boss off him to allow the debuff to fall off. The large adds summoned during the air phase will also add stacks of this, so we try to avoid having the main tank on one of these adds. As long as your tanks communicate when to taunt, this should not really prove a problem. 3 small adds will periodically be summoned throughout the fight. These will either be Defiled Guardians or Defiants, depending on your faction. We have one of the adds tanks pick them up and gather them together. They are normally just AoE'd down in the air phases, but they can be killed off while Alsbeth is on the ground if necessary. After about 45 seconds, Alsbeth will take off for the first of her air phases. Alsbeth will take off and a large add will spawn along with several wisps. This can be one of 3 different adds. A Soul Thief, which is a black ghost, a Soul Harbinger, which is a white ghost, and a Soul Magus, which is a grey skeleton caster. The main one of these to worry about is the Soul Magus, the grey add. He will cast 2 different spells. Chains of Discord will hit a random raid member and will do damage to them and everyone near them, so it is advisable to spread out during this phase. Alsbeth will also cast this spell, though she does slightly less damage than the Magus. He will also cast Soul Destruction, which needs to be interrupted, otherwise it will most likely kill several people. The 2 other types of large adds should just be tanked and DPS down quickly. Once we have killed the large add or adds in the later air phases, we DPS down any of the smaller adds that remain, along with killing off the wisps that have spawned. Killing these wisps will cause crystals to spawn around the edge of the platform. These are used to end the air phase. In the first air phase, 1 pillar will spawn, and when it is destroyed, the air phase will end. To destroy it, you need to break the shield that protects it. 2 beams will come from the pillar to small platforms on either side. These each need to have one of the crystals brought to them, which will cause the shield to drop. Once it is down, DPS down the tower and Alsbeth will land again. Throughout the air phase, Alsbeth will gain a new ability. You will get a message that says Alsbeth points at a raid member. This will normally be the person furthest from Alsbeth. That person will be rooted and will have an orange swirl and circle around them. After a few seconds, an orange meteor will land, doing damage split between them and anyone near them. About 6 or 7 people should gather on the person so that the damage does not kill anyone. More people than that will split the damage more, but is not advisable due to the Chains of Discord spell. She should be picked up by the tank when she lands, and people should be careful of her cleave. The ground phase will be the same as before, and after a time she will take off again. This time there will be 2 large adds spawned, and 2 pillars will need to be destroyed to end the phase. Otherwise it will be just the same as the first air phase. She will then land for a while before taking off into her third air phase. This is the most difficult part of the fight. All 3 types of large ad will spawn and 3 pillars will need to be destroyed. There can be quite a lot of raid damage flying around, so raid healers should keep everyone as close to full health as possible. Once all 3 pillars are destroyed, Alsbeth will land again. She will then go between air and ground phases until she hits 20% health. Try to get as much DPS done on Alsbeth in her ground phases, so you can minimise the number of air phases that you have to go through. Once Alsbeth reaches 20%, she will put up a damage shield, and there will be a short conversation between her and Regulus. She will also heal back to 100% health. Several of the wisps will spawn, and will keep spawning throughout this phase. These should be killed, as when they die they will cause a crystal to spawn as before. People need to pick up these crystals and run them into Alsbeth, as each one will do about 7% damage to her. Alsbeth will put up a shield during this phase that will reflect damage, so people with crystals should wait until this drops. When it does, everyone with a crystal should run to Alsbeth, as after a few seconds she will put the shield up again. Alsbeth will still use her earlier mechanics here, so people need to be alert to who has to run and who people need to gather on. Other than that, this phase is reasonably easy and should not cause a problem, as long as enough people are still alive from the earlier phases. This fight can seem confusing at first, as a lot can be happening, but people just need to focus on their own roles and be alert in case they have Punished Soul cast upon them. The third air phase is the most difficult part, so as long as this can be controlled, then Alsbeth should soon fall. Thank you for watching. I've been Zero Override, and I wish you luck with this boss.